is, of course, what does it do to Israel public diplomacy? I mean, I think today we have a greater opportunity to present why Israel is not the problem of the Middle East, but really has the solution of the Middle East. And our solution to the Middle East does not depend on our military might, and not even on the fact that we're a leading country, a startup nation, as they call it, in high tech, but on the fact that when it comes to living off the land, when it comes to being able to provide foodstuff to people, Israel has one of the most advanced agriculture in the world. Our water system, the recycling of sewage water, using of, depleting water resources and renewing them, and desalination, all this provide a promise to the Middle East how to survive in a hostile environment. So, contrary to all the images that you see in the news, the virtual Israel which is a pariah state, Israel which is a subject for DBS, the divestment, boycott, and sanctions. I mean, this Israel, this is not the real Israel. The real Israel is the one that has these agricultural experts working in over 100 countries, coming down to the peasants in Sudan and in Eritrea and giving them a sack of seeds and say, take these seeds and plant them to the ground. You get double the yield you got before. But they said, but the ground doesn't yield. These seeds will work. Why? Because we use advanced high tech and give the farmer on the ground low tech so that he can use it to sustain himself. That's the secret. That's why Israel is so much. That's why China is doing business with Israel. That's why Cuba is doing business with Israeli companies. We know how to solve problems. Particularly problems relate to living in an arid desert area, which is becoming large in terms of desertification, becomes almost uninhabitable.
If Israel were to invent the cure for cancer, if Israel were to develop a car that runs on electricity, doesn't require...
We already had one. Next year there'll be one on the road. The name of the car is A Better Place, because we say Israel is a better place to live, and the car will make it a better place. The first fully equipped electrical car with an infrastructure of a recharging station throughout Israel. It will go. I had the opportunity of driving this car. It's a cooperation between a company based in Los Angeles and some Israeli entrepreneurs, Ingenuity, on a Renault chassis. You get a car that can go 100 miles an hour for 200 miles without recharge. You don't need more in Israel. It's a small country, so you can, with one recharge, you can cross the country.
But it appears that the Israeli Foreign Ministry doesn't fully comprehend the delegitimization campaign movement against it by the Organization of Islamic States.
I don't think so. Look, now I'm working here on behalf of the Israeli Foreign Ministry, and I understand there's a greater understanding today among everyone, from the Foreign Ministry to the Deputy Foreign Ministry, and they come out and they organize even conferences, of NGOs which are working against the delegitimization of Israel. Today, to win that battle, it's not enough that the government will have a different policy. You have to mobilize NGOs, human rights organizations on our part, who can carry the war into Durban II, into Geneva, into those, I call them hostile territories of human rights, where we can actually fight and present a different case to Israel. I think much more is being done, and you can see result on the ground. I mean, it's not that Israel wins this battle, but at least we stand our ground, and we make our case, and we are there. Before, we weren't there. Still, the danger of these ambushes like the Mavi Marmara and all that, where they use human rights organization as a front for a stage event, in order to delegitimize us, are going to continue. But I think we're better equipped today. One of my missions here, the little I can do, I come around, I walk through this country. Today I'm in Los Angeles, and I've been into Orange County, I've been to San Diego. I meet with young professionals, young Israeli leadership groups, and I teach them how to stand in front of a camera, how to present an effective case for Israel. In the various, after 25 years of experience being a paratrooper, I can tell you, you say after you finish jumping and after you finish leading your troops, you have to train new troops. So that's the purpose, and this is done with the help and cooperation and support of the Israeli consulate here in Los Angeles and the Israeli embassy in Canada and the foreign ministry in Israel. In other words, this is something that I initiate, but without the support of the foreign ministry, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I think it's a great thing, and I hope this maybe will be only a pioneering step where it can bring others, to do the same and get the NGOs really involved as what I like to call, I come from a military background, so don't hold it against me, special commando troops that can actually operate via the internet, via Facebook and other elements that are given by the new media to make it possible for Israel to win this battle as well.
Is it a propaganda battle, in your opinion, or is it a battle for explanation of Israel's perspective?
Neither. It's a battle for survival. It's another battle for survival. A country that is delegitimized. Just look at it from an operational point of view. And as a result of that, any act of self-defense, Article 51, according to the UN Charter, is immediately not granted to us because we are an illegitimate state. Now, this is an act. This is the act that is reserved for legitimate states. But if you're a delegitimized state and you have then any action, any military action on self-defense is not legitimate. You're immediately a war criminal, even when you defend your home against 10,000 missiles coming from Lebanon. And that we must avoid. And in order to avoid that, you have to harness all your resources and all your capability. It's another battlefield. They're fought with different weapons. I believe we can win.